We have a major problem of mental pollution of negative thinking.
You know why possibility thinking works wonders? When you start with something like tithing, for instance.
Drive past any American suburb today. You'll see them. Massive buildings, parking lots built for thousands. But look closer. Those lots are half empty now. In 2007, megachurches were unstoppable. 20,000 people, $40 million a year. Celebrity pastors on magazine covers. Today, attendance is crashing. Pastors are resigning in disgrace, and the model everyone copied is breaking apart. What happened? The answer goes back to a shopping mall in 1955. In 1955, a marketing executive named Victor Gruen opened America's first indoor shopping mall. His idea was simple: create a place where people don't just shop, they hang out, they feel like they belong. That same year, a pastor named Robert Schuller had a different idea. He rented a drive-in theater in California. People listened to his sermons from their cars. No dressing up, no long walks. Just show up and stay comfortable. Schuller understood something about Americans. Convenience matters more than tradition. Within 15 years, he built the Crystal Cathedral, a giant glass building that cost $18 million. It seated nearly 3,000 people. It had a pipe organ with 16,000 pipes. Tourists came just to see it. But here's what most people missed. Schuller wasn't just building a church, he was copying the mall. Think about it. Malls weren't built in city centers, they were built in suburbs, near highways, with huge parking lots. Megachurches did the exact same thing. Malls offered more than shopping. They had food courts, movie theaters, play areas for kids. Megachurches copied that too. Coffee shops, gyms, bookstores, childcare. The goal wasn't just Sunday worship. The goal was becoming a destination. And it worked. For decades, it worked incredibly well. But there was a problem baked into this model from the very beginning. A problem that wouldn't show up for 50 years. The mall model had a fatal flaw, and megachurches inherited it. The flaw could wait. Because in the 1990s and 2000s, megachurches were exploding. In 2000, America had around 350 megachurches. Just 7 years later, that number hit 1,300, almost 4 times as many. The formula was working perfectly. Bill Hybels took Schuller's ideas and supercharged them. His church, Willow Creek, started in a rented movie theater. By 2007, 25,000 people showed up every week. Hybels created something called seeker-sensitive services. Translation: make church easy for people who don't like church. Out went traditional hymns. In came rock bands. Out went long sermons about sin. In came motivational talks about living your best life. Over 12,000 churches worldwide copied his model. But Hybels wasn't alone. Joel Osteen took over Lakewood Church in Houston after his father died. He moved into a former basketball arena. 16,000 seats. Production values that rivaled television shows. His message? God wants you to be happy. God wants you to be rich. Smile more. Worry less. People loved it. Lakewood brought in over $70 million a year. Then there was Mark Driscoll in Seattle. He built Mars Hill Church from 12 people in his living room to 13,000 across 15 locations. Driscoll was different. He swore from the pulpit. He talked about sex openly. He mocked other pastors as weak. Young men loved him. Mars Hill became one of the fastest-growing churches in America. The money was incredible. The growth was incredible. The influence was incredible. These pastors weren't just religious leaders anymore. They were celebrities. They wrote best-selling books. They appeared on talk shows. They advised politicians. In 2007, megachurches seemed untouchable. The future belonged to them. But something was happening behind the scenes. Something the cameras never showed. something the smiling pastors I never mentioned. The same model that made them powerful was creating a monster, and that monster was about to wake up. The first cracks appeared in 2014. Mark Driscoll, the tough-talking Seattle pastor, got caught cheating, not on his wife, on his book sales. His church spent hundreds of thousands of dollars buying his own book. They used a company to fake the purchases. The goal? Get on the New York Times bestseller list. It worked, but someone noticed. Once people started digging, they found more. Former pastors described bullying, spiritual abuse, a culture of fear. 21 pastors signed a letter exposing Driscoll's behavior. Within months, Mars Hill collapsed. 15 locations, 13,000 members, gone. But here's what nobody expected. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a pattern. In 2018, Bill Hybels resigned from Willow Creek. Multiple women accused him of misconduct spanning decades. The man who taught 12,000 churches how to grow was now a cautionary tale. In 2010, Carl Lentz got fired from Hillsong. He was the cool pastor. He baptized celebrities. He wore designer clothes. He also had multiple affairs. That same year, Jerry Falwell Jr. resigned from Liberty University after bizarre personal revelations. Then came Ravi Zacharias, one of Christianity's most respected voices. After he died, investigators discovered he had abused numerous women for years. He used ministry money to keep them quiet. Pastor after pastor, church after church. The same story kept repeating, and people started asking a dangerous question. Was this just bad luck? Or was something about this model creating these problems? The answer was uncomfortable. These weren't random failures. The megachurch system itself was broken. Think about it. What happens when one person controls everything? When millions of dollars flow through their hands? When thousands of people treat them like a celebrity? Most humans can't handle that. The temptation becomes overwhelming. But the structural problems went even deeper. And they explain why this crisis isn't going away anytime soon. Here's what most people don't understand about megachurches. They have almost no accountability. Traditional churches belong to larger organizations, bishops, councils, oversight boards. If a pastor misbehaves, someone above them steps in. Megachurches don't work that way. They're independent. The pastor often picks the board members. He hires his friends. He chooses people who won't challenge him. Who watches the watchman? Nobody. But that's just the first problem. The second problem is money. Running a megachurch costs millions every year. Hundreds of staff members, massive buildings to maintain, production equipment, utilities, insurance. The machine constantly needs feeding. This creates pressure, desperate pressure. When donations drop even a little, panic sets in. And donations were dropping. The 2008 financial crisis hit suburban families hard. These were megachurches' core donors. Suddenly, they had less to give. Younger generations made things worse. Millennials watched pastors living in mansions while preaching about generosity. They saw the scandals. They asked where the money went. By 2019, megachurch giving had dropped 15 to 20% from its peak. Some churches took on debt to hide the decline. Others quietly sold property. The cracks were spreading. Then 2020 arrived. The pandemic should have been megachurch's moment to shine. Instead, it exposed their biggest weakness. These churches depended on the weekend experience. The lights, the music, the crowd energy, the social pressure to give. Remove all that? Put everyone at home watching screens? Donations collapsed. The machine started breaking down. But COVID didn't cause this crisis. It just accelerated something already happening. The real problem was cultural, and it was much bigger than any virus. Remember the shopping mall? Malls thrived when Americans trusted institutions, when television united everyone, when suburbs represented success. Megachurches thrived in that same world, but that world is disappearing. Social media shattered shared culture. Netflix made scheduled programming feel outdated. Why drive 30 minutes for church when everything else comes to you? The prosperity message stopped working too. Telling people God wants them rich feels different during a recession. It feels different when young people carry crushing student debt, when housing costs explode, when good jobs vanish. The politics made things worse. Young people watched megachurch leaders defend positions they found morally wrong. They saw churches fight to stay open during a pandemic while hospitals overflowed. Something broke. The numbers tell the story. In 2007, over half of Americans attended church regularly. By 2020, that dropped to 47%. Among people under 30, below 30% for the first time ever. The religious knowns, people claiming no faith, grew from 16% to 30%. But the most damaging statistic? 57% of Americans now believe religious institutions do more harm than good. Read that again. More harm than good. When researchers asked people why they left evangelical churches, the answers weren't about theology. They were about ethics. People felt manipulated, exploited, lied to. The megachurch promised to make Christianity relevant. Instead, it made Christianity disposable. When church becomes just another entertainment option, people find better entertainment. The model that promised endless growth had planted the seeds of its own destruction. But something interesting is happening in the rubble. Across America, people are gathering differently now. Living rooms, coffee shops, small groups of 20 or 30 people. House churches have grown 38% since 2020. No production budgets, no celebrity pastors, no parking lots. Ancient traditions are growing too. Young people seeking ritual, mystery, connection to something older than last week's sermon. The megachurch promised bigger was better. These communities bet on smaller. Robert Schuller died in 2015. His Crystal Cathedral sold for $57 million because his congregation couldn't afford it anymore. The man who invented the megachurch model watched it fail before he died. Those massive buildings still dot the suburbs, monuments to an era that's ending. Some will adapt, most won't. But here's what nobody is talking about yet. The same forces killing megachurches are spreading. The same pattern is appearing somewhere else. And what happens next will change everything.